Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. These words from Psalm 23 has brought comfort to countless number of people. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is so good about God's goodness? That's what we're going to be diving into, the vast ocean of God's goodness, as we unpack the question, what is so good about God's goodness? God's goodness is His purpose. God's goodness isn't just something that He does on the weekends. God's goodness is who He is, not just what He does. David does not say, maybe God's goodness will follow me all the days of my life. Instead, he says with such certainty, he's absolutely sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that God's goodness will follow him all the days of his life. Now, this is the confidence that you and I get to have about the goodness of God, knowing for certain that His goodness will follow us, because it's not just what He does, it is who He is. But the question still remains, fine, God is good and that's His nature, that's His character, but what about those times when it feels like God is not good towards me? And that's why the second part of this verse is vitally important. God's goodness is pursuing. In the original Hebrew, where it says, goodness and mercy will follow me, the word means for God's goodness and mercy to be pursuing you, chasing you down, not just slowly trailing behind you. God's goodness comes hunting us down, not to beat you, but for you to find His goodness. But still, we can ask ourselves, would God ever stop pursuing me to be good to me? Maybe if I was bad for a day, maybe then God's goodness will stop pursuing me. Or maybe if I was bad for a week, a month, maybe a couple of years, would God's goodness ever stop pursuing us? God's goodness is permanent. David writes and says, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. He is so confident that God's goodness and mercy is going to be his closest companion for the rest of his life. Our lives might feel like it's coming to an end, but God's goodness has only begun. Right from the cradle to the grave, God's goodness will never run out. In joys and in sorrows, God's goodness is still pursuing and will never give up and will never run out. But this goodness of God doesn't just stay with us as a close companion, but it's directing and guiding us while it's pursuing us. I wonder where it's guiding us to. God's goodness leads us to His presence. Where does God's goodness ultimately take us? David says with all confidence, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It almost seems like God's goodness is like a divine GPS that guides us into His very presence. You see, in this life, we might have to move a lot and be in circumstances that is extremely uncomfortable. I've had to switch schools that I've not felt very comfortable about. I've had to switch homes, and right now, I live halfway across the globe from where I was born. No matter where we go in this life, we have this confidence that the very purpose of God, which is His goodness, will pursue us all the days of our life, but it's pursuing us with a plan for us to find our ultimate home in Him. In this life, there might be times where you feel homeless, but you don't have to be alone. Why? Because God's goodness is right there with us. And we, along with David, can join and say, goodness and mercy will absolutely follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord in His presence forever. So then, what is so good about the goodness of God? We've seen that it is His purpose. That's just who He is. We see that it pursues us, and He never stops. It's permanent. His goodness is permanent towards us, and it also guides us directly into the very presence of God. Surely, goodness and mercy will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.